can do it. You can do it. You can do it. You can do it.
All right. Welcome to the Fathersphere, everybody. And today we're going to talk about talk to dads about how you can do it.
I don't think it was clear.
Just in case, I did my best Rob Schneider impression.
That was all you.
Was it?
Yeah.
Am I getting in trouble, like copyright infringement, for saying that I did it versus Rob Schneider?
I think that's beyond. There's like a timeline on that, right?
Probably something like that.
All those
I don't
Rob
know.
Schneiders are old.
I don't know, man. You were in the movie industry. I don't know.
Yeah, we're good.
You talk about music, and then I might know a little something more. But anyway,
You can do it.
Yeah, you can do it. Chris Sandler here with JD on the Fathersphere, talking about you can do it. What is you can do it? It's all about how dads are encouragers to their kids and how you should be saying, you can do it to your kids. Good. It's a big deal. So, in past podcasts, JD, I've mentioned my mom a lot. My mom, was a great mom, hilarious mom. Haven't even got into mom stories yet that will make you laugh your butt off. Here's the deal. I said this before. I love my mom, but my mom has some hilarious stories.
Sure she does.
And people will think I'm borderline disrespectful. Not at all. These are true stories. I'm just telling a story about some real stuff that happened with my mom. Okay? So the bottom line is my mom had a big influence in my life, just like my dad did. And I wanted to kick the show off today, just talking about how dads are encouragers to their kids. And I want to call my mom.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I want to call my mom. Now, my mom she's never heard a podcast before. She's not even going to know what's going on. You're going to see how my mom and I interact. It's going to be a lot of fun.
She's going to wonder who the second voice in the phone is.
Oh, totally. She'll be like, who's that? We must be on a party line. For those who are born, in the mid-'80s, back in the days where they had copper wires running through the ground. I mean, they still do. But, and you had the phone that sat on the wall, not in your pocket. There was people that used to be like, hey, let's just, they'd be connected to their neighbors. And, you'd pick up the phone and Gladys from next door was on the phone, right? Party line. That's what a party line is. That's your history lesson for today. Your telephony history lesson. All right, I'm calling my mom right now. We're gonna get Mama Sandler's bit of wisdom about dads and how they can encourage their kids. So here we go.
Here we go.
This will be great. We'll see if my mom.
Yeah.
Hey, Mom.
Yes.
It is. It's your baby boy, Chris.
My favorite one.
Oh yeah, Mom. Right now, you are being recorded on my podcast.
Well, I'll be darned.
Well, how about that?
Hi.
How about that?
So I got my friend JD here on the podcast. Say hi, JD.
How you doing?
I'm doing good, JD.
All right. So, Mom, I talked to you about podcast. It's called the Fathersphere, right? And we're all about encouraging dads to be great dads, right?
Yes.
So your name comes up. I talk about you a lot on the podcast. So,
don't tell him about the toilet thing.
Mama, I'm not making any promises. I'm not.
I bet you already told JD.
No, I haven't even talked about that. Way to go ahead. And I am going to talk about it because you brought it up. That gives me the permission. Not this podcast though, but I'm going to talk about it now that you said something.
Oh no.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Okay, but we're not talking about.
I can't hear.
We're not talking about the toilet thing, Mom.
Okay, good.
So we're talking today about how dads are encouragers to their kids.
Okay.
So I wanted to get your take on what you think dads could do to encourage their kids, or even just things that dads do that encourage their kids. What do you think about that, Mom?
Well, first thing is that in the old days, dads would never hug their kids, especially their boys. But hugs are so crucial. They say so much without words. Also, telling the son or the daughter, I love you, I think you're special, and you can be whatever you want to be. Just those kind of encouraging words.
Yeah. Yeah.
Agree.
So, Mom, you didn't, I haven't really talked about this much, but I know you didn't grow up with a dad. If you had a dad, is that what you would want your dad to have done with you?
Definitely. You are the kind of dad to your girls that I would have wanted for my own dad.
Why is that, Mom?
Because I've watched you with your girls. I hear you talk to them. And of course, I didn't have that. I only had a grandfather who didn't say much of anything that raised me.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Well, good words, Mom. So, to recap, dads got to hug their boys and girls, hug their kids, show affection, and then tell them you love them. Give them encouraging words. You're proud of them. Give them affirming words.
Yes.
All right. Good advice, Mama.
Perfect advice. Yep.
Yeah.
Any last thoughts before we go?
Oh, I want to add one more thing. To give them time, because love is spelled Time.
Yep.
Love it.
My mama, she knows some stuff.
Well, definitely.
She knows some
She
stuff.
raised you, didn't she?
Yeah, she knows some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
On the podcast.
All right, Mama. Hey, thank you for giving us your words of wisdom, Mom.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Okay, good meet. Well, okay. I'll see you on Saturday.
All right. Love you, Mom.
Thank you. I love you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. Straight from the mama's mouth.
From the source.
Right there.
Yep.
You know, I talk about things my mom says, but my mom, she knows some stuff. That's what she says all the time. So I think those are some excellent points right off the bat. Now, we had another podcast where we talked about daughters, and I brought up how important that was just for daughters.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's safe to say kids in general, affection, words of affirmation are a big deal. And I said both those things for essentially our daughters and doing that. But boys, too, fall in the same category.
They need love, too.
Absolutely.
As much as you want your boy to be rough and an athlete, and they need love, too.
Exactly. It's a big deal. And it's not effeminate to do that stuff at all. I mean, it's very manly. Very manly to show your kids love.
I love one thing that your mom did say, though. I loved everything she said. But the one thing that was really cool was how something we talked about in the last podcast, how times has changed.
Yeah.
Because, how if you don't mind me asking, how old is your mother?
Oh, man. 70-something.
So she's been on this earth for 70-some years. And
78
years, right?
Yep.
So the fact that she said that, you know, back in the day, men didn't hug their boys.
Right.
But then she changed it for the sole reason because she knows that that's very important. Things changed. The mentality back then has changed. I'm sure that was her mentality the whole time, that you should always hug your kids. But back in the day, men didn't do that.
Right.
That's crazy. Like
if
I had a baby boy right now and he was 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I'll hug him every day.
Yeah.
That's my boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I heard a friend of mine speak. Actually, he's got a fantastic book. It's Dr. Ron Johnson. He is he's a psychologist, been doing psychology for, I want to say it's over 30. I want to say it's probably close to 40, maybe over 40, but for sure 30 years.
Long time.
Yeah, long time, very smart guy, a guy that I respect a lot. He wrote a book called why am I going to forget the book's name? Oh, it's so incredible. We'll have to share a link later, I think. It's something like the power of sadness, or the powerful something of sadness. Oh, Ron, I'm sorry. I'm totally hosing your book. I will send a link out via Facebook and our social media outlets, but I'll send out the link. Great book. It's a book about, I'm going to plug his book for just a second. It's a book about how sadness is the cure to anger, anxiety, and depression. Fascinating read, very insightful read. And basically he talks about how the sadness is kind of the salve that heals the wounds that cause anxiety and cause depression and things like that. Anyway, great book. Pick it up, read it. This fantastic dude named Chris Sandler did a review on the back. You should listen to what he says. Anyway, I had the pleasure of hearing him talk about moms and dads. And he said, kids, at least my takeaway from it, it might not have even been his intended purpose, but my takeaway was, kids need moms and dads. Mm-hmm. And he talked about how in a child's development as they grow, they tend to gravitate towards mom under the age of 6. So 6 and under, they tend to gravitate towards mom because moms in general are a little bit more nurturing. And kids need a lot of nurturing when they're young.
Most definitely.
But they hit this age where they kind of go, wait a second, I can do some stuff. Like I can, I see people doing this and I'm interested in that and doing that. Whatever that may be. Some kids might hit a little younger, some might a little older, but the bottom line is there's this transition age where they're like, hey, and then they gravitate towards dad a little bit. Because he said moms are nurturers and dads are encouragers. Like, hey, you can do it. Come on,
do it.
Let's do this. You can do it.
You can do it.
Right?
I can't do it. I can't do that voice though.
So dads are like, all right, son, all right, daughter, you're gonna go out there and do this, like, or they'll be like, hey, dad, can I help you with this? And yeah, sure, okay, and dads kind of help them and show them how they can do stuff. Hey, look what you did, And this is kind of a natural progression with kids. And so this podcast today that we're talking about is just how can we encourage? What can we do to encourage our kids? And I think there's a few things that that we got to watch out for, some pitfalls. Because really encouragement, and depending on how your dad was with you, it can be either good, positive, or negative, really.
Yeah. Definitely blow back pretty hard.
Yeah. And some dads, and my dad was, he was this old school Brooklyn Jewish guy, grew up in Brooklyn all his life type thing. And, he didn't have a really good example of a dad. I never met my grandpa, but my dad was just kind of like, he didn't have a lot to say about my grandpa. Mm-hmm. I didn't know him that well, but I kind of got the vibe from my dad that his father just never taught him how to do or be somebody. He was on his own a lot. And so my dad struggled with how to be a dad, right? And he did the best he could. He wasn't perfect. But in a lot of ways, I'll give an example of kind of positive, negative. Like there's positive where it's like your son or daughter comes out and says, hey, Dad, can I help you with whatever you're doing? And a positive would be like, come out and do this. Or maybe they are interested in baseball or, some sport, volleyball, whatever, And I've seen dads, as far as with encouragement, right? I've seen dads, and I was in Little League, and I've seen dads just get on their kids.
Yeah. So it's super tough.
Yeah. And in a weird way, I've seen dads get mad at their kids and be like, what are you doing? Get your head out of your ass. And, they're just kind of really riding them about stuff. And in a weird way, so track with what I'm saying here, that's their form of encouragement. as bizarre as that sounds,
But was it how they were raised?
yeah, right? Did their dad do? I don't know the backstory behind it, but that's how their dad said it. That's how their dad treated them because they didn't really know a good positive form of encouragement. And basically, I think even with that negative reinforcement, it's damaging, but it can't. The end result can be the result you're looking for with a whole lot of damage. So, for example, I'm going to speak in the realm of Little League. So I would see kids that just get reamed out. I remember this one time that I was just having a good time talking, all this stuff, and we were trying out. There was a big bunch of trats. All the kids go out on the field, and they're hitting balls out there to see how kids react to them. And I'm talking to a friend, blah, blah, blah. Ball rolls right through my legs. And this other kid comes up to me and goes, "Hey, why don't you pay attention, idiot?"
Wow.
He's just like that. And I'm like, all right, whatever, dude. Like, this is no big deal. But that's how his dad, talks to him and encourages him and tries to get him going on stuff. Now, you can get kids to kind of turn it around because kids are always looking for acceptance, approval from their parents. And so, yeah, you can ride a kid and you can call them a bunch of names and you can have a really negative kind of encouragement to a kid, and they'll either break under it and just hate your guts, or they'll be like, "Man, I want it bad enough that I'll do it." So you can get the end result that kids get beat up enough to where they learn it, right?
It's I don't want to use the word rare, but so I've seen kids where they just take that route,
Right.
but I don't think it's more of a 10%. It's
right. I don't know what the percentage is. Haven't even looked it up.
probably little.
But it's just been my experience that I've seen it work with some guys, and unfortunately, in my world, that doesn't work. Like
I don't think it works either.
I'm like, you're dead to me. Like, I'm not listening to you. You're not encouraging me. You're just kind of making me feel bad about myself.
Yeah.
And I don't need that crap. And I just walk away, right? So that's the negative. Positive, I would see dads come out and be like, "Hey, buddy, it's okay. Remember, just keep your eye on the ball." They'd give some really good advice. They'd be like, "It's okay. Shake it off. Don't worry about it. Let's go ahead and we'll get them next time. But just remember, here's some things to remember." And, sometimes they'd go, "Hey, Bobby, keep your eye on the ball." And so you got to watch what you do. And I would encourage dads too to really think about their dad and go, okay, when did I ever, did I totally hate when my dad encouraged me this way or was harsh with me? Because I believe in some weird messed up way that it's out of love and they want the best for you, but they just don't know how to do it. So they do it the way their dad did it. And, that's the only way that they really think. On the damaging side, and the positive, either way, whichever way, we encourage kids or discourage kids by the way we act towards them, because kids believe what we say, right? I mean, if I told my kids, "Hey, you guys, you're not going to find a guy because you guys aren't really that pretty."
Yeah.
Which is not true at all. But if I were to say that to my kids from a young age, they'd believe it.
Oh, wow. Yeah, they'll be scarred or embedded into their minds forever. Yeah. That's hard therapy there, buddy.
Yeah. I mean, if I were to say that to my kids, even though it's not true, even though they could have 50 different people tell them otherwise, but because dad says it, and mom too, I'm saying moms are important here, but this is a show for dads. I'm saying dads, kids will believe it.
Yep.
One of my favorite movies was The Crow. You remember that with Brandon Lee? Yeah,
yep.
I love that movie. And there's one point where he's got this girl that he and his girlfriend she'd always come over and they loved her like a daughter kind of thing. And her mom was a junkie and just never around, and she just had to raise herself. And so, he becomes the Crow, I'm not going to tell you the whole movie. You got to watch it. Anyway, there's this one
Spoiler.
scene. Yeah, there's this one scene where she's all hopped up on drugs, and he busts into the room, and like this guy she's with, he takes her into the bathroom, and he puts her, kind of puts her in front of the mirror, and he whispers in her ear, "Mother is the name for God on the lips of all children." Mm-hmm. Right? And I thought that was powerful because it's true. Like, as parents, we have such huge influence on our kids. And if we discourage them, and I were to say to my kids, you're not very good looking and whatever, they'd believe that. And they would grow up believing that. And they would have problems seeing themselves as anything different.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I kind of mentioned about we got to watch how we encourage, make sure, going back to what I was saying before, encouraging dads to think about how their dad did it. What did your dad do that was like, man, that really made a difference, and that touched me, whatever that may be. And I would encourage you to really focus on those things and pick just a few things that you want to make sure that you are encouraging your kids and that it's always in a positive direction. And there's a lot of times that we as dads have to fight our, maybe it's disappointment. We have to fight, and I'm guilty of this too. We have to fight our discouragement of maybe something our kids do. And we have to just go, hey, I can guide them. I can kind of turn them around. And when they're really young, it's a lot easier. When they become teenagers, it gets a lot tougher. So from a young age, just encourage your kids and try to go the positive route. I think that's gonna. Well, I know that's a huge deal. And temper your words on everything because kids will believe what we say. Bottom line.
And also, one thing I want to add to that is it's not necessarily what we say, but also it's under the opposite spectrum of we also have to listen. That's a form of encouragement.
Yep.
Listening to your kids, knowing, listening and hearing two different things. You got to listen to what they're saying because that affects them also mentally and emotionally.
Yep.
My dad's not listening to me. Like, he never listens to me.
Yeah. So. Or being engaged, yeah.
Yeah.
And when your kids say something, you're just like, "What? Yeah, oh yeah. Well, did you hear what I said?" Or, no, you really didn't, right?
Yep. You heard noises.
Yeah.
But you didn't listen to the words.
Yeah, exactly. And I said earlier, kids they look for our acceptance. One thing that I've always done, because there's a few things. One is, I think acceptance from a parent is huge. And how do I want to temper this? I'll say it like this. I think we need to give our kids unconditional acceptance. I love you just the way you are. You're incredible to me, and you can't do anything to change that, right? It doesn't mean you're not going to be disappointed. It doesn't mean you're not going to be sad if they make a mistake or make a bad choice, right? But that unconditional love and acceptance, I think, are two big things that we can give that will encourage our kids. Because I don't want my kids to ever feel like, and I've said this to my kids. I've been like, look, I'm going to be disappointed, or disappointed's the word I used. I want to be disappointed. You're going to disappoint me. You're going to make some decisions. You're going to do some things that are going to disappoint me.
It's natural.
Yeah, it's going to happen. But that shouldn't stop you from talking to me or, like shutting me out. Like, don't do any of that because in spite of disappointment, I still love you and I accept you for who you are and just the way you are, like crazy. Like, that doesn't change that. That's a constant. So, okay, disappointment. You don't want me to be disappointed. I get that. You're probably going to have to lean back into the love and acceptance when you're going to come to me with something that, Dad, you're going to be disappointed. So
disappointed, but not just with us, but another. Like I said, everything happens. It's a two-way street.
Yeah,
you're going to disappoint them, and that's another form of. We have to really teach our kids that just because we're disappointed they shouldn't quit the other
Right.
way around. Just
Yeah.
because you're disappointed in us.
Yeah,
And I
that's
don't
a
mean
good point.
I don't mean like you walk out on your kids. I mean like because you didn't give them what they wanted.
Right.
And I'm actually going through that as we speak with my son, 18-year-old. He's not doing so good in school. He's disappointed with him right now. Like if I were to give him if I were to drop a call on him right now, he's probably wouldn't want to talk to me because what he doesn't understand is his mother made a good point. You're not seeing this now. You're disencouraged right now because you don't know what's really like in your mind. You're always right, and until you don't have kids or until you grow up and mature, you won't understand what mom and dad did. But that's part of encourage. We need to encourage him to do good, regardless if he's disencouraged of the negative. Like for example, we punished him, right? Right now he's disencouraged because we punished him because he has bad grades.
Right.
But that's a form of encouragement because we're encouraging him to do great.
Right.
She says it well. You're mad at us because we want you to succeed in life.
Yeah.
That makes no sense.
Right.
But we're still in the process of that flow of encouraging him, which is obviously the whole podcast is about. But there's so many mixes in there of how to encourage, and don't ever misinterpret another child's disencouragement saying I failed as a father.
Yeah.
Because we didn't.
Are you looking at my notes? Because that's
No.
like a perfect segue. Like,
Damn it.
no,
My
I mean,
bad.
so I had on my notes, like one of the big things with me as a dad, right? Because I want my kids, I don't ever want my kid, like love and acceptance, that should be a constant. My kids should always, but there is a point where we have to chat, like we have to have love and acceptance, but we can't make it like so blank. How do I want it? I want to phrase it like this. Well, I'll just say it like this. Love and acceptance has to be present, but we also have to have the guts to challenge our kids too, right? If our kid does something that we know that they're better, right? Like they got lazy on a test and we want them to have good grades, right? We've never been a grade-focused family. I know a lot of grade-focused families, and my kids just naturally wanted to do well in that. I've never had to have that challenge like you've got going on.
Lucky for you.
But you know, where's the balance on challenging it? Because you're right. I mean, we can't, hey, it's okay, buddy, it's okay. Oh, you got in a fight? That's fine. You know, I love and accept you. I love and oh, you stole something. Ah, that's okay. I love and accept you. You know, we can't. It can be that. That's not love and acceptance, is what I'm trying to get at, right? Love and acceptance is no matter what you do, that doesn't change, but it doesn't mean I'm not going to correct.
Is that kind of like brushing under the rug?
Right.
Like you just say love and acceptance, but you really don't do anything about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I just love them for who they are, right? No. Don't. It's like we're using that as an excuse not to have to confront and challenge and try to help our kids out, right?
Is that the street term of cop out? No.
I think so.
Maybe.
I would say look it up in the dictionary.
Urban Dictionary.
Yeah, but I mean that's kind of that for me. That's kind of the big deal. Is you know, we have to have a balance. I hate to even say it balance. Like, you know, at some point you have to have a little. It's not even that. It's just don't be afraid to challenge your kids. Is what I'm trying to get at. Because yeah, exactly. Because that's what we're here for. We're dads. We've walked the earth longer than our kids. We have been through a lot more than our kids. And the bottom line is we know more stuff. And it's our job to help them and say, buddy, I think that was a wrong decision. I think what you're doing here is not correct. And I would even say one of the biggest things that has helped me out with my kids, especially if I'm really wanting to get it across, because fear is a big thing in these situations, right? You see your kids making the same mistakes you did, or well, I'll just leave it at same mistakes. And you kind of get like, oh man, if I would have just been more like this when I was a kid, and I see my kids doing that, and then it comes out like, hey, get your butt up and do this and don't do that, and you know, you kind of, it gets you like, you can become this taskmaster. I have found that when I tell my kids stuff, like I sit them down, I go, you know what, I'm a little worried because when I was a kid, I did this stuff, and I wish I wouldn't have, because I could have been, doing this or focusing on this. And who knows where I would have been at this point in life if I just would have focused my attention on this a little bit more. You know what I mean? So get real with your kids and control your own fear, because it's kind of like what I was saying. I was saying in another podcast we did about girls and boys. I think we project, our kids are an extension of ourselves, and I think in that way we can get full of fear and ride our kids and get into that negative encouragement space because of our own fears. And that's on us. It's not on our kids, it's on us. And so it's for us to do. I think the other thing is modeling. Like I said earlier, if we want our kids to do something different, we got to do something different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's role modeling is it's the visual portion of their brain.
Right.
There's so many aspects of it, emotionally, spiritually. So yeah, showing them the example.
Yeah. I have one of my daughters struggles with high anxiety, and that's a real challenge because I felt anxious. We all feel anxious at some point in life.
Yeah.
Right? Job interview, or
I'm anxious now.
having to go out on stage. I mean, anxiety everyone's felt to some degree, but she's got more of a clinical one that, and it was explained to me like this: when you suffer from clinical anxiety, it's one of these things where it's a fear response when there's no fear. So naturally, if a lion's coming over the ridge, your body's going to do some things.
Yep.
It's going to kick up some adrenaline. It's going to make you real jittery and jumpy, because your body's going, that's danger, and I need to amp up to get out of here, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what an anxiety reaction is. But there's no lion coming over the ridge. Like my daughter said it like this, Dad, in my mind, I can logically think this is really stupid, but it's your body physically reacts. And my friend Ron Johnson, again, who psychologist, said your brain takes over. It's like your brain has effectively just taken over your body, and your logic, everything's functioning, and you're going, why am I freaking out? But
yeah.
So that is, and so for me, I don't deal with that, right? And so it's really hard for me. I don't understand it, but over the years I've just learned, and I mean, I understand logically, but I don't understand at a point where it's I probably had one time in my life that I probably was on the edge of that. And it wasn't, I naturally could just kind of calm myself down. My daughter, if she gets to a certain point, we have to help her.
We have no return. Yeah.
Yeah. So, so that has been, kind of a challenge for me. I want to encourage her, and there's certain things that are irrational with anxiety, and it makes it really hard. And my wife is awesome this way, where she has to dial it down, remind me, hey, remember that she can't help it sometimes. It's just, I know it's irrational. We don't understand it. And, there's ways that we can just, we have to kind of step back a little bit and relax and kind of go, okay, she can't help it. We got to just ride this one out a little bit. But even in the midst of that, I found ways to encourage her. I talked with her recently, and I said, I hope you don't see this whole anxiety thing as kind of a handicap. Mm-hmm. I said, I think more of it it's going to make you stronger even than me. Because she has to do things in her day. She has to have a regimen in her day that probably makes her physically and mentally a lot healthier than I am. I'm just kind of a lazy dude in the way I'm I should work out and I should do all this stuff. Mm-hmm. But if she doesn't do it, she also suffers from migraines.
Okay.
Right? And so she knows kind of her body, and she knows what she has to do. And I was highlighting that, in ways, anxiety keeps you on top of your game because you have to be
Yeah.
physically. And I said, to me, that's a superpower, or it's, it's a discipline that is going to pay off in the long run for you physically, mentally, emotionally. You are more aware of who you are emotionally and physically than I am.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a dummy sometimes with, physically. Sometimes I'll push my body and all of a sudden I'll get to this point where I'm passing out and I'm like, I haven't, taken care of myself, right? Or, I have, things with my feet that if I don't do certain things with my feet, I just get lazy about it. But with her, and the way her brain works, she has to do it. It's a deal. And so I just encouraged her. I found a way to encourage her in spite of something that I don't understand, just to say, hey, don't look at it like that. Look at it like this.
Word.
So I was thinking about encouragement as a whole. And I'm not 100% on it. I mean, to be real honest, sometimes, I'll let the fear factor come in and I'll kind of get on my kids. But here's one thing that I feel like is also important in the realm of encouragement. How do we as dads encourage our kids if we're not encouraged?
That is the $1 million question in our daddy world.
Yeah. Because we go to jobs that you might have a jerk boss that's always discouraging you or putting you down. Yeah. I mean, I've worked at jobs like that, or maybe clients, right? Mm-hmm. And then I really hope that you don't have kind of a rough marriage or a spouse that's not very honoring to you. But I mean, there's spouses out there like that. It is. I mean, when we're not getting encouragement, how do we fill our cup so that we can give our kids some?
Well, that's what this podcast is about. The podcast is about giving our listeners an answer, right?
Absolutely.
I can't give you the right answer because there is no such thing as the right answer, but I can give you my experience. What do I do? I started meditating a long time ago, about a year or so ago. I started meditating.
Yeah.
My wife, I don't do it in front of my family because I'm a big time when it comes to not making people feel uncomfortable. I'm not going to sit there and meditate in front of you if I'd rather spend time with you.
Yeah.
So on my off time, I meditate a lot. I envision a whiteboard in my mind, and that whiteboard is just full of scribble scrabble and just junk of my life, and I try to erase it. And the reality is that you can't erase the whole board at the same time. It takes little by little. So over the time, there's times where I'm overwhelmed, and we're gonna make mistakes.
Yeah,
and that's how I do it. Is I meditate. One another is you and I can relate to this. Is we go to church.
Yeah.
I go to church not because I feel I need to. I go to church because I want to. I go to church because it clears my. When I listen to Pastor Dennis, it's like I'm clearing more of that slate.
Right.
Another thing is my opinion is really, really, really important is dieting. Believe it or not, whatever you put in your body affects your mind.
I believe it.
So that's me. I'm not saying I'm right, but that's what I do. Everybody's different. What do you do? Yeah.
Spirituality is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm a follower of Jesus. So I do, when I'm into my Bible, when I'm praying, meditating, big deal.
Yep.
I do that too. Not as often as I should, but all that stuff is a big deal. And, getting on your spiritual side and really digging in to having a higher power give you the encouragement or give you what you need to pass that on. That's a big deal. And you're absolutely right. I think, it's we've said it before. It's the analogy of putting the air mask on your face before you put it on other people in a plane going down situation, right? I mean, it's we need to be refreshed. And you're right, JD. This podcast is designed so that dads, you can come here and be encouraged, learn a little something about how we can be better dads and not perfect dads. That's the deal. We have to agree we're not going to be perfect dads. We're going to fall on our face. We're going to mess up. That's part of the gig. There's no perfect dad out there, but there's good dads.
Yep.
There's great dads. There's no perfect dads.
Yep.
And so if we can go from mediocre to good, awesome. If we can go from good to great, awesome. And if you're a great dad, we want you on the podcast. Yep. We want you to talk about what you feel like is making you a great dad, or things that you learn from your kids or your experience being a dad that has helped you, or maybe something you learned from your dad. I mean, that this podcast really is about encouraging dads and giving you the shot in the arm so you can pass it on to your kids.
Where can our listeners communicate with us if they want to either give us a concern, a compliment, comment, or a suggestion? Where can you refer them to?
Absolutely. We are on the social sphere. See what I did there? Fathersphere is on the social sphere. So if you're on Facebook, you can, I think we grabbed at Fathersphere, right?
Mm-hmm.
At Fathersphere on Facebook. And I believe that we did on Instagram as well.
Yeah, we did. And then our email, it's email's fathersphere@gmail, right? For now.
Yeah, the fathersphere@gmail.com. So you can shoot us a message anytime on stuff you want to hear. Maybe some suggestions on it'd be cool to have a podcast just to read through suggestions. It'd be cool to get hundreds of those.
Love that.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Real soon we're going to put up our phone number for you can text us.
Yeah, absolutely.
We haven't 100%
Soon to
established.
come.
Yeah.
Soon to come. But yeah, we love hearing from our listeners, especially because that's the whole gig right now is dads encouraging each other to be better dads.
Not just dads though. We also welcome mothers.
Forget moms. Moms. I'm just kidding, moms.
Yeah, if you have a question as a mother, or if you are a mother to be, and unfortunately the reality is we don't, a lot of fathers are not going to be out there. And if you're a female about to be a mother and you're raising your child by herself, even though this is a podcast about dads,
yeah,
please by all means give us a call, give us a message. We are here to help, to give you some advice. We're not perfect dads, as Chris mentioned, but I think I'm doing a pretty good job, and I know Chris is doing a really good job. I see it every day when I go to church. I see your daughters are a reflection of you.
Yeah.
And when your daughters go to church, it's nothing. It's just they're happy. They hug you. They hug people. They're embracive. Like it's just I have not officially met any of your daughters yet, because I think they probably think I'm weirdo back in the back over there, recording video
with the camera.
So, but I can see that you're doing an excellent job, and I think I'm doing okay so far. So yeah, give us a text, or email, and hit us up on social media.
Yeah, absolutely. Dads, keep it coming. Keep up the good work, dads. You're doing great. Everything that you do for your kid is investing into their future. So keep up the good work. Again, you don't have to be perfect, but we want you to be good, and we want you to make conscious efforts to love your kids and be the best dad you can be. And you can do it. You can do it.
Do it! Just do
Oh,
it!
man.
Thank you,
Is
everybody.
he a dad? He's not even a dad.
I think he might be a dad.
Oh, maybe he's a dad.
Shia LaBeouf. All right, look. Thank you guys for listening. Until next time.